All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It is 4:38. We have Mr. Miglerino and Mr. Hutchinson online and the rest of the board here in person. Item number 2, adoption of the governing board agenda as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dr. Pingarelli, is there a second?
Second.
Juan, or Mr. Ramirez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. At this point, I'd like to call IT program technician, Mr. Darren Sauby, to lead us in the pledge, and then it will be followed by a moment of silence.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 5. The minutes were in everybody's packet. Did anyone have corrections to the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
It's been moved and seconded. Hearing no corrections, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kaltenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna go to the podium for this. Mr. Donovan.
You are absolutely the right man in the right place at the right time. You birthed and nurtured West-MEC through force of will, personality, charisma, and passion. Your vision for the students all across the West Valley would be felt for generation after generation after generation. Through your vision of West-MEC as an education center, we have had an impact on high school students in every West Valley high school, charters, homeschool, and private students. Through your vision for teacher professional development, we are influencing students in the far-flung corners of Arizona. Through programs like our NC3 and Snap-on trainings, we're impacting students across the nation. And that is all attributable to you. I personally work at a school celebrating 100 years of influencing its community, and while most of us won't be around 100 years from now, I firmly believe that West-MEC will be here influencing the entire West Valley and all those beyond when that time comes. I know that you didn't want to fuss, but most of us want to fuss over you. Several of us cast about looking for a way to honor your legacy and your impact on not just West-MEC Central students, but all West Valley students. And so it gives me great pleasure to announce that from now on, from this time forward, at every school and in every career and technical student organization, those students will benefit from the Greg Donovan CTSO Program Award. Thank you very much.
That brings tears.
It should. I personally, Mr. Donovan, when I came on the board many years ago, I just remember how you met with me and were patient with me. Well, I'll just say patient with me to help me understand education. And what a wonderful journey it has been. And I know you'll be missed. But I think the thing that we should know about a strong leader is it's not what happens when you're here, but how West-MEC will continue when you move on. And that's a true testament to your leadership. And I just thank you very much for all you did for me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I will also say, like I said, at the staff meeting last Friday, Mr. Donovan is Mr. CTE in Arizona. He taught me, I knew about this much when someone called me up and said, would you run for the school board? And I said, no, I'm not running for blank. And they said, a week later they called me and said, okay, nobody else is gonna run for it. If I help you, will you do it? So I came down for an interview and we talked. And it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it immensely, and we love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just make a quick comment. Again, it's very grateful for your time, your attention, being very welcoming, and giving me tours of all the campuses. And whenever I needed or had a question about something, putting me in contact with the right people, and I really appreciate that. And again, echo a lot of the same sentiments and words that have been said here. I agree with all that. And you've been a great leader for this school, and you've done a great job with West-MEC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
And I would like to say, Mr. Donovan, thank you. I enjoyed many of our meetings at Grand Canyon University as we met. I think that the words that Mr. Kallenbach gave, your contribution to the West Valley and to CTE in the West Valley and actually throughout the state of Arizona will live for a long time. So thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Dr. Pigarelli.
Jim, Mr. Miglerino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How do you measure success? And I just want to take a minute or two to talk about that. Look all around you. Look at the facilities you're in. Look at the facilities we have. Look at the number of students that are out in the community that are working as pharmaceutical techs, working in doctors' offices, fixing cars, fixing airplanes. We've gone beyond what normally happens, just getting the job done. West-MEC is a leader, and our leadership came from, and our ideas from Greg Donovan. It's an awesome job that's been done. It's an awesome legacy that he's passing on to the future. All I can do from an educator standpoint is thank him enormously for all that he's done. It's just absolutely amazing, and I am grateful, and I know there are many people. Look at the staff that we have, the people that we have to work with. It's terrific. Thank you, Mr. Donovan. I apologize for not making the trip down, but I do admire everything that you've done over the last many years. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Miglerino. Mr. Donovan, would you like to?
Have I ever turned down an opportunity to speak?
And you always keep it in a nutshell.
I promise for those that, most of this crowd lived through Friday, so I promise it won't be nearly as lengthy. But we had some fun last Friday. I want to thank everyone that's here, but I just want to thank all of West-MEC, every single employee, current and past, and even future, every department, and the entire West-MEC community. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because we all wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't the entire community, the entire effort of board members, staff, community, government, legislators, lots and lots of people that helped make it happen. I just had the distinct pleasure to sit in the seat, to have the opportunity to say, let's try it. A couple of fun things. You get in trouble when you start trying to get specific, but I want to have some fun for a moment. Tonight is minimally my 244th West-MEC Governing Board meeting. I don't have a number for all of the special meetings, but I gave us credit for about 10 special meetings. And I know over the last 19 years, we've had more than 10. But assuming that, tonight would be 244. Of those, except for during the pandemic, I called in for either 2 or 3 of those 244 meetings, and I completely missed one. So out of 244, I missed one meeting. I'm proud of that. I worked for, outlived, that I figured out, 43 member district superintendents. We're 20-plus governing board members of West-MEC for our history, all good people. So again, I'd like to thank everybody, but this is my night, and I'd like to thank a few individuals. 13 years ago today is what year? 2009. Let me just make a note of that real quick. And you'll know in a second here. After tonight, or after my departure, Chris Cook will be the most senior employee left at West-MEC. Chris came to us in the spring of 2007, or actually, excuse me, not spring, June of 2007. Now, what's kind of fun, because we forget things, today, you know, communications, PR department, those things, but really, I have to give him credit as our second maintenance employee, because along with me, we painted walls, picked up trash, changed light bulbs, moved furniture, and created district signage. He was our first IT employee before anybody called IT in West-MEC. He managed our server, created the online storage of documents, fixed computer issues for staff, ordered computers, and did all that. And most everyone has forgotten that. He developed the first student absent calling system and mass communication systems. Prior to that, if a student was absent, nothing happened. He built our first online fillable documents for stakeholders. Prior to that, it was fill out the paper and fax it to us. He developed the first back-end West-MEC website management system. Prior used a pay service to perform West-MEC's updates. The process took days to make any simple change. He created the concept of our START facility and what went on over there and led the construction efforts. He built the first West-MEC coding program and was our first principal over the coding programs. He created the West-MEC brand, which we all know today has won state and national recognition and is very well known across metropolitan Phoenix and the state of Arizona, hence my orange tie, orange watch, orange socks tonight. Chris Cook, thank you for all your time and dedication. Next up, and again, somebody's going to feel left out tonight, but really this is a recognition of some of the folks that have been with me the longest. Next, coming on her birthday of 2007, Dee Markham, who came to us as an administrative assistant, and shortly thereafter, Linda Rappold retired. She moved into my executive assistant position and board secretary, and has done fabulous work. Thank you, Dee, for your 15 years of dedication, our friendship and hard work. There's no one thing more important than the position she holds, with essentially everything of this district crossing our desks, but it's confidentiality. Dee, thank you for all the confidentiality. You are an expert, you are a friend, and I thank you for your hard work. Coming to us on March 31st, 2009, Barbara Thompson. Solid full-time business as we were growing. She was either employee number 9 or 10. So Dee's before that. Chris is about number probably 5 or 6. Dee is probably about 7 or 8. Barbara was number 9 and has now worked with us for those 13 years running our business department. The budget was certainly simpler in 2009 with 9 or 10 employees, a couple of partnership programs with the community college, no buildings that we owned on our own. We rented that office at 4949. Times were simpler, weren't they? At one point, Cliff Michael and I sat down in that room at 4949, took a flip chart. She told us how much money she projected we were going to have, and 30 minutes later, he and I had 3 pieces of paper tacked on the wall, and that was our budget, expenditures, and everything for the year. We were done. I wish we could go back to that simplification. Thank you, Barbara, and for now, the entire business department in all the great work they do. As we all know, the collecting of that information, ADM, all those things, everything that goes on in the business office is what keeps West-MEC moving every day. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Business Department. Next up, celebrating her 13th year with us today, Wendy Roop. Wendy, thank you. Wendy came to us, and Peoria? Yeah, she came to me from Peoria. I remember quite vividly, and she said, this will be my last job. She's been here a while. We've had a wonderful friendship. Wendy, thank you for your dedication. She keeps the Northeast campus straight. How many years you been at Northeast now, Wendy?
Since it opened. 8
Since it opened. She keeps them going over there at Northeast campus. Thank you, Wendy. She came to us very early on. And why am I recognizing those people? You got to remember, I'm sitting there going, this is the dream and vision. Come work for us. Really? Why would I leave a Peoria school district with 4,000 employees? All kinds of opportunity for growth, transfer, upwards, lateral, sideways, different schools, elementary school, high school. I got all kinds of options to come work in 440 square feet at 4949 West Indian School for a district nobody's heard of. They were great people. They are great people. Next up, Stephen Welch, 2010. Now known as Assistant Superintendent in the Curriculum Instruction Department and the district's teaching and learning system and responsible for adult education. But he designed and taught our first district teacher training program. He was our first principal at West-MEC. He led our first and continuing accreditation efforts over the last 10 years, and we know we've done very well with our accreditation and recognition of that. He authored our first student handbook. He created the first teacher evaluation system and walk-through instrument, now used by most of the CTEDs. Developed the first West-MEC assessment system. West-MEC is #1 in the state of Arizona for the ADE testing results and credentialing. He developed the first district performance metrics. We now have longitudinal data for credentials, student placement, state testing, and stakeholder satisfaction. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you more than you know. Marilyn Babyar also came to us in 2010. We, in those days, were having a cosmetology orientation at Moon Valley High School auditorium. Do you remember that, Marilyn?
I didn't work here yet.
And we were doing our thing, and all these students were coming through, and parents and families and all kinds of people. And I turned around, and I knew who Marilyn was. She knew who I was. We had a vague professional acknowledgement of each other. And I turned and I said, what are you doing here? I knew she was a counselor, Dysart High School. I knew that much. But there was no reason. She goes, I want to know more about this. Isn't that about the right statement? I want to know more about this. We're going to do this. Something to those words. And lo and behold, thank you, Marilyn. We interviewed, it was a long one. She developed the West-MEC representative program to provide lead district counselors for West-MEC at each one of our member schools. and to disseminate to all the information to counselors and students, significantly increasing our central program enrollment. She developed our member district counselor grant program to help fill high school opportunity programs, and has consistently filled those programs because of this grant. Developed application and registration systems for central programs, creating a very fair and equitable system for students who apply for West-MEC programs, for which we've had no significant challenges to ever, with people saying this is not a fair or equitable process. That unto itself is remarkable. Created career coaching positions to serve West-MEC students and parents on career development. Created intervention systems to help staff with bullying, homeless youth, and special education students, creating where we're at today. Thank you, Maryland. Is Speranza with us this evening? She might be online. Speranza Cleese was hired just about at the same time. Speranza and Maryland interviewed at the same time for the same job. But I ended up with both of them. Speranza has helped us in a variety of ways, but taken on some tasks that were very important in helping us at the cutting edge cosmetology school initially, and some other things, along with others who've taken on some of those jobs. But I want to mention Speranza Cleese, who now does a lot of our dual enrollment, college and university relationships, 90-30 programs, and on, has done great work as well. Thank you, Speranza. As you can see, I'm flipping back and forth a little bit. Next up, Jack. Thank you. Dr. Jack Erb, Associate Superintendent. And the term associate means second in command, only because I don't think he ever really wanted to be number one. He had that experience in Peoria. But what's really fun, and a lot of you don't know, is Jack had retired from Peoria Unified. He'd actually worked for a charter school for a little bit and helped them with some things. But I called him and said, Jack, we're going to go out for a bond election. I need some help. I need somebody that understands it. Will you help us with our bond election, which would have been November of 2012, but this conversation started in 11. Jack jumped in and simply said, did yeoman's work for months, helping us with all the things you have to do from outside the system to promote and get ready for a bond election. We know the success of that bond of 2012 significantly launched West-MEC to help get us to where we're at today. How many signs was it, Jack? 600 or something like that? 850 signs around the West Valley. He worked hard. But as we got to that, I said to him a few times, Jack, I need some help at the HR department. Will you give us 6 months and help me straighten out some things in HR? 6 months. He said, well, I'm retired, I'm good. I said, Jack, I just need 6 months. We got some issues in HR I want to get straightened out. We need to get some things in place. I need somebody to charge this. Well, that was January of 2013, he signed on for 6 months. Thank you, Jack. For the last 10 years, almost 10 years. Spencer, where are you? Spencer Isom came to us in February of 2018. Several of you board members know historically, but a couple of you were here. Spencer came in after Diane McCarthy decided it was time for her to move on. Spencer came to us from city government. The position he holds is unique in West-MEC, as Diane was too, with our community relationships, our governmental relationships, our business relationships, our city and town relationships, our legislative work, and all of those things. Spencer jumped in, has had a significant hand in legislative work, helping write and adjust proposed legislation, increasing our friendship and partnership with West-MEC, Western Maricopa Coalition, all of the West Valley Chambers, the Tohono O'odham tribe in our grant that we get with them and work with them, As an example, with the city of Tolleson being our fiscal agent for that, we can thank Spencer for that. Spencer will be departing June 30th for his next ventures of life in Ohio. Thank you, Dr. Ison. And I would like to personally thank the current campus administrators, Holly Medina, Mike Johnson of Northwest, Troy Gabalden, Tremaine Marshall, Central Campus, Aaron Parsons and Leticia Reyna Stroud, Southwest Campus, David Sparnick and Jamie Miller, Northeast Campus, and Jarrett Guy, our administrator for the campuses and learning, and former campus administrator for the Southwest Campus, or founding administrator for Southwest Campus, for laying the foundation of economic independence for current and future generations of students. You all have successfully built high-quality CTE programs, implemented teaching and learning systems, built business partnerships, and mentored teachers, all while managing construction, significant growth on your campus, and you've created a culture of growth for students and teachers. We will forever be indebted for these founding principles, their perseverance, leadership, and dedication. Thank you to each of you for all of your wonderful work. I know I've left people out that I would like to talk about. I know I've left people out that I should talk about. This is a wonderful place. It is a great place. And I look at nothing but good things for the future. As I said, I hope to continue to advocate, perhaps from a different chair, as I've been liking to say lately. The two best words that anyone can ever say to anyone, I noticed tonight, and out here, Jamie, are some of our local CTE directors who are very dedicated to career and technical education in their districts. It just does my heart well to see all of you here tonight, and for all the folks that can't be here and just aren't here. Thank you to the board. It's been a wonderful journey. Thank you to all of you. As I said, the two best words somebody can ever say is thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the time.
Tough act to follow. Summary of current events. Mr. Donovan, the floor is still yours.
We had a great ending to the school year. See, and I've already thought of something I should have said. On top of everything else all these great people have done is manage to maintain the excellence of this district during the last 2-year pandemic. That alone warrants a standing ovation. Thank you. We had a great conclusion to our regular class schedule. We still have aviation underway. Everything else is concluded at this point. Teachers are working diligently. Summer training, summer wrap-ups, summer test reviews, or spring test reviews, and those things as they review their curriculum. A lot of good stuff. Remember, Friday is our recognition ceremony. We have recognitions going on all day Friday. We certainly would love attendance where possible. We know a couple of you have commitments and cannot attend, but there's a lot of good things. It never slows down at West-MEC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Board, any current events?
Yes. I have attended an advisory committee this past week. I've attended one of the graduations and at the all-staff meeting on Friday. And if you all have not gone to a all-day staff meeting, you should someday try to fit it in. You learn a lot. It's been great.
Anyone else? All right. Going on to consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chair, but I do have a question I'd like to ask Ms. Thompson. And that is, in going through, I saw a lot of contract renewals for sole source. I just wondered what our process is each year to determine that they still are sole source.
Just because this is a consent agenda, I would like to pull that item out, and then we can vote on the agenda, and then have Ms. Thompson respond to your question. So that is the annual renewal contract awards. I'm gonna pull item D. Mr. Kaltenbach, would you?
Yeah, that's fine.
And Mr. Miglerino, you okay to set the adjusted second without item D?
I'm fine. I don't really, my intent was not to pull it. I just want to be sure that annually we have a process to review sole source.
Let's go back to the consent agenda, everything but item D. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Going on, coming back to item D, we pulled that out of the consent agenda. Ms. Thompson, would you like to address Mr. Miglerino's question?
Thank you, Chairman Straka and Mr. Migliorino, governing board members, and Superintendent Donovan. Yes, we do have a process. We start in March, April. We look at everything that is sole source. We make sure that they are sole source. We go out and vet them. Some of them are truly sole sources. They will only build training aids for certain programs in this country. Some vendors are regional, and you're not allowed to buy from a different vendor if he has a certain region. Some of them are just cost prohibitive to go back out, and some of them are just partnerships that we built like Snap-on. So we do have a process. We start in March. We vet it for a couple of months. We go out to all of our instructors that give us these vendors and work with these vendors and double check to make sure that we are still doing our due diligence. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then I think anything that we renew every 3 or 5 years, we have to go out to a bid, correct?
An RFP or an RFQ can go up to 5 years with an annual renewal, and we do vet those as well every year. If they're not providing the service, we give them notice, or we put them on notice. We let them know probably in March or April. Again, we do not have to renew an RFQ or an RFP if they're not providing the service adequately.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item D.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved by Mr. Kaltenbach, seconded by Dr. Pingarelli. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, call to the public. Ms. Markham, I don't have any cards. Would anyone in the public like to address the board? I have to ask a third time. Anyone would like to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 10. Mr. Spencer Isom, also addressing the board for his last time. Congratulations, sir. What is your adventure in Ohio?
Moving home to my hometown, so
Oh, well, congratulations.
I'm gonna be there to take care of and be close to family, so.
Good for you.
Well, since the last meeting of the board, the legislature has yet to pass a budget for this next fiscal year. We're in around day 142 of what should be a 100-day session. There's about a month before the budget must be passed, less public spending in many of the government agencies will cease. There's no shortage of funds, as this year we're looking at about $5.3 billion available for allocation. As a side note, and to my knowledge, there have been no hearings to get public comment on a proposed budget. In fact, the legislature adjourned today until Monday with no public hearings on the budget scheduled. next item I have is kind of a reminder. Several months ago, I mentioned the city of Phoenix was purchasing the Kmart at I-17 in Northern, branding the project Innovation 21. If the board will recall, Phoenix envisions this as an employment, training, and higher education center. West-MEC, along with ASU and Maricopa Community College districts, have been invited to co-locate and participate in this redevelopment project. I did receive a call from Vice Mayor Guardado in asking that I be there later tonight to represent West-MEC. So I'll be leaving this meeting to I guess celebrate the kind of kickoff for that redevelopment project. I think that it has some merit. It's yet to be kind of flushed out, but I think it's worthy of West-MEC continuing the conversation and seeking that type of partnership. That community is in need of a training facility for adults, and that's kind of what the intent is. So hopefully my predecessor, or I should say successor, right? Successor will continue that conversation and continue keeping the board and all of West-MEC informed. Which does bring me to my last item. As we talked about, this is my last meeting. I appreciate the fact that this board has endured my updates over the years. We've enjoyed some interesting legislative sessions. We've had some success and some items that have yet to be passed, but I'm confident that the Arizona Career and Technical Education Districts will continue knocking on the door of the legislature to make sure that we expand opportunities for young people in Arizona, especially towards CTE. If I may, to Superintendent Donovan and Associate Superintendent Jack Erb, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. You know, it was nice of you guys to meet with me. It was something that I watched grow around the West Valley, and I thought I could participate and help, and sincerely thank you for the opportunity and hope I've contributed to what has already been established. And also to the board, I think that we've made some important investments that will ensure West-MEC's future and opportunity for growth throughout the West Valley, namely the 30 acres that we purchased for what will be the Southeast campus, as well as the additional 30 acres to expand and grow the Central campus. As Superintendent Donovan has mentioned, you know, as the West Valley continues to grow, West-MEC may be advised to kind of seek land opportunities for even further future expansion. So thank you for your foresight and insight on considering those projects. And to the entire West-MEC leadership and staff, which includes a special thank you from me to Angela Harris, who served as my administrative assistant. I want to say that they're all fine examples of what it means to serve the public. Your dedication to CTE for our young people, preparing them for careers in life, is on display every time a young person opens their mouth in front of this board and others and talks about the excitement, not only the experience that they had while in the program, but the excitement that they have for the future. It is a clear reflection of the dedication of the staff. They've shaped lives. So to all here at West-MEC, I'd say, as I take off heading east, they say, go west, young man, I'm heading east. I don't know what that makes me, but to all of you, I say well done, and continue to keep our young people ahead of every decision you make, every lesson you teach, and everything that you do. And you're going to make this world, and at a minimum Arizona, a better place. You've made your mark, and you're in the business of changing lives, and I commend all of you for it. So thank you for the time, and I'll answer any questions that the board may have.
Questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you all.
service.
Thank you.
All the best. All right, Ms. Thompson. Financial audit.
Thank Thank you, Chairman Straka, Governing Board members, and Superintendent Donovan. This is the first year that we are statutorily required to ask for a roll call vote on the approval of the audit that was done last November. And I will tell you that Heinfeld Meach conducted the audit. They noted that the audit did not identify any misconceptions. There were no material or significant findings. To us, this is considered, and them, it's considered a successful audit. No audit ever in the school history has ever been without a finding. It just is not unheard of because they will look until they find a mistake. And they do find them, which is good for us. I always have felt like it helps us do a better job and improve our best practices. And with that, we did have a 91% success rate, and to me, that's an A. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want to take a minute to commend Ms. Thompson and the business department for another, key word there, another successful audit. It's a difficult period when the auditors are there, but it's also heartwarming when they leave and you get the kind of audit that we have had year after year. So thank you and your staff for a job well done.
Thank you. It does take everybody. The whole district is involved. So I appreciate everybody's earnest and honesty and concertedness. With that, I would ask the governing board to approve the audit.
By voice vote.
Roll call.
Okay. I need a motion.
Motion that we accept the audit as presented.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Markham, would you take roll?
Peter Pangarelli.
Aye.
Frank Straka.
Aye.
James Kaltenbach.
Aye.
Barbara Wiley.
Aye.
Juan Ramirez.
Aye.
Michael Hutchinson.
Aye.
And Jim Migliorino.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 12, Dr. Erb.
Okay, Chairman Straka, members of the governing board, this item tonight gives the board an opportunity to have some discussion about some classifications of positions. This was a board request that we're bringing to you tonight from our last meeting. Before I start, I just want to do a little bit of summary. I included 3 pages in the board book for you to review. The first page has the recommendations for some adjustments. There's 10 positions that are listed there. That covers 28 employees of West-MEC. That does not include the 57 teachers at the bottom that we're recommending some consideration for. Since the board adopted our salary increases in April, we have had 19 employees leave us, and they left one for compensation and improved compensation. Secondly, they've left for the quality of life, and a third, they left for working from home. Previous to that, over the last 2 years, we've had 37 employees, and I presented that information in the previous board agendas that we covered. So with that, I will turn it back to Chairman Straka in discussion with the governing board where you would like to proceed with these recommendations and answer questions that you might have. And I know that Superintendent Donovan can jump in and assist if you have specific questions about salary over the years.
I have a question.
Chairman Straka.
Ms. Wiley.
Go back onto the consent agenda. And in there, we accepted some resignations. And I noticed the 3 of them were from aviation. And I was out at a advisory meeting this past week on aviation. And we got a lot of students wanting to take that. Why did they leave?
Chairman Straka, Mrs. Wiley, they left because they were offered employment in the private sector at significantly increased salaries from what they're currently making.
As instructors or as something else?
As instructors or working in the aviation area. For a minute, Mr. Straka, Troy, you know if they're instructors or going back into general aviation?
Just going back in the industry.
Okay, going back to industry.
Okay, and it was about $30,000 that they left for? No? Raises?
I would say that it's somewhere between 30 to probably 50,000.
Okay, so do we know what, okay, when these people want to learn aviation or avionics, we've got a school here, and I don't know what other CTEs might have aviation available. Where do these people go to get that training? And how can we keep these teachers? I mean, what? Yeah, this is adult, right?
Correct.
Adult ed.
We have two in adult ed if one of our secondary transfers over to adult, and then we'll have to replace one of those secondaries if the secondary teacher moves to the adult program. So we're looking for two and then one in the secondary area. And just with that, we've had three from CNI that have left, one in maintenance. We had two campus assistant administrators leave. One, we're still looking for a coding teacher at Central Campus. This past week, we've lost the learning management system specialist. She's going back to work from home. And we've lost the three adult aviation all at one time. We have an opening for a vet teacher at Northwest Campus. We have a medical simulation assistant at the Northwest Campus. We have one medical assisting instructor, which we believe are gonna fill. And those are the employees that we currently, or positions we currently have open. Troy, do you wanna come forward and answer the question about where they go and what they do and what other agencies, if they went to the private sector, where would they go and what would the tuition be and what would they pay?
And for what we want, what do they pay at other places? Who else does what we do?
There's only two people the other two people that do what we do would be Chandler Gilbert Community College and Pima Community College. Are the only two other institutes that you could go teach. Chandler Gilbert pays probably around 110 if you want to go teach.
What do we pay?
75 probably at the high end.
And what do the students pay at?
Chandler Gilbert they pay about the same as us for the adult program. They're around 18,000 for community college.
I wonder if our instructor range needs to be looked at as not one instructor range, but multiple instructor ranges, because it feels like aviation instructors are different than a pharmacy versus a vet, and maybe we need not one range, but multiple ranges, because the industries are very different, and we might need to structure salary and compensation based on, aviation.
Based on the competition.
Based on the competition.
We have to do it on the competition.
And I think just trying to adjust here and there, the root cause is we have one broad range and we have a lot of openings because we're trying to shoehorn everybody into one range. And I think we're creating a lot of churn.
What do you think is the answer, Troy?
It's hard to say, and me and Greg kind of talked about this. It's just hard to compete with industry. And the reason why I say that is not pay-wise, it's just because most people on industry, especially in aviation, cost doesn't mean anything. Like I told him, we've back in the day, we've chartered a $300,000 jet, fly 5 mechanics to fix an airplane because it's sitting on a tarmac with 300 passengers. So cost to most places like that doesn't mean anything to them. So that's what the problem is about competing. I mean, we can probably do better competing with other schools, but I don't think we're ever gonna match what it is for industry, because you just can't do it. But other schools, you know, obviously we could probably match better with them. But like these two guys that we have leaving, they went back into industry, so that's where we lost them too.
But we'd be more likely to maybe be able to retain them longer if we,
Yeah, and it's a group of
If we
things. I
were
mean,
the-
it's, a lot of it's pay, some of it's, you know, benefits, especially with a couple of the guys who had family. I mean, you know, to pay, you know, that $2,000 a month for insurance just doesn't do it for them when, even if they're making 75, because that's a big cut in pay.
okay, there's your answer. We have to. We're gonna either close it or we're gonna do it.
Most of these folks that are leaving, they're going to private industry, right? They're not getting other teaching positions in other districts because the other
Everybody we've
district.
lost aviation has gone into private industry.
Private industry.
That's an aviation.
In aviation,
Yeah.
correct. Coding has been private industry. CNC's been private industry. So I would say majority of my campus has been private industry.
With something like coding, you can teach students during the day, or you can work for a private company and work from home 3 to 5 days a week. And you can't compete with that.
But
It's like, we're a whole different model. How do we compete with people offering, you can work from home, you don't have to drive to work, you can work in your pajamas all day. You can't do that in front of students. So how do we, how do we it's not a level playing field.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
no, it's
and you can throw more money at it, but I don't know if that will solve the problem, because as soon as they get another offer to work from home, they're still gone. And
if you don't throw more money at it, what?
they're still gone. I mean, most companies in the last year have had a 25% turnover rate. Some companies are approaching 50% turnover rate. So Dr. Erb has done a phenomenal job at keeping turnover down.
It's a multiple of factors. It's not just pay, but it's a flexible schedule, benefits, that individual's personal needs, their family's needs. So it's not just money.
I almost wonder if it's more of a, we have to go back and, I hate to say we have to go back, but do we need to open up the discussion of, it's not just about money. Money is important, but how can we give people a more flexible work schedule? Especially if they have to be in the classroom. What can we do to, employees that don't teach? How can we make their schedule more flexible? Is there opportunity for them to work at home? How do you reward teachers with being in the classroom every day and maybe a year end? I mean, I think it might be, this might not totally solve the problem. This only puts a Band-Aid on it. And is it really something we need to go back into a broader study and come back with corporate employees? How do we meet their needs? How do we create something for teachers? How do we create, because right now we're trying to have one size fits all. I don't think one size fits all, and I think that's the problem, because teachers.
Right now, we're not one size fits all. We're talking about these 3 positions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So I have a few questions regarding what's proposed here tonight. And one of them is, we just raised the caps. Is this a bump to the employees themselves without adjusting the cap? Because some of the employees listed here, and I'm sure Dr. Erb can tell us, may be close to even the new cap, and this would bump them right up against it and not even give them what we intend. Now, adjusting the caps, if they're below market, which some of these appear to be, seems totally logical, but to just throw money out seems like a Band-Aid solution in general. So if we're going to adjust the caps and then adjust where they are within their bracket, I think that would be something worthy of looking at. But what's proposed here tonight just doesn't seem well thought out.
Mr. Chair, can I chime in here?
Yeah.
I got a list of things I want to say, and I hope I don't forget them. The first of which, this is not a panacea that'll cure everything, nor intended to. And we can have all the multiple studies, exotic programs and evaluations, and you're still not going to get it exactly right. We ask for year after year on the board, I have heard and we have talked about some employees, their salary ranges were not in line with standards that are being paid in the Phoenix area. That's what brought this about. Second thing is, I think the charge to Dr. Erb was to check with the administrative team and make some recommendations. These aren't, I don't think necessarily his or mine or Mr. Straka's or anybody else, but it's a start. There's some on there that need to be addressed, and finding a fancy way to postpone it again is not the answer, in my opinion. We should take a look at it. We're never going to be able to compete with industry. I'm not saying that. We're always going to be who we are, but we need to pay people a competitive salary for the job they're doing. That's what this is about. If someone looks at that list and we don't agree with it, take it off. But there are some on there that I think are very important, and we should vote to change, because these are positions that are very important to our daily operation and to our long-term well-being. Thank you.
He had his hand up, and then Dr. Pingarelli.
Thank you, Chairman Straka. Mr. Hutchison, just to your point, we didn't bump the caps. We removed the caps as salary caps. They are now hiring ranges. So this is, we can't start someone outside of that, but we changed that so that they can make more than that. So this is not going to cause a problem with that. Some school districts have, and some other kinds of government entities have hard to fill kind of stipends. So if you find a few that are egregious, then maybe you add that. We are never going to be able to compete with industry for our teachers, but I think a large, the bulk of what administration has given us is to fix the places where we are competing like to like, in sense that we have IT techs that are getting stolen by city, municipalities, and other school districts. We've got maintenance people that are getting stolen by cities and other municipalities. So we're not going to be able to compete with, Delta for an aviation technician, but we ought to be able to compete with Surprise or the city of Peoria for a campus administrator. And so with that, I'm going to move that we approve the administration's proposal.
Second.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you. I'll reiterate my point. It may be.
Mr. Hutchinson, Peter had his hand up first. I told him he was after Mr. K. Then you can speak after Dr. Pingarelli.
Absolutely. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry. I forgot.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, I've listened to the, various board members. I've reviewed the list that's presented. I do agree, for example, in the area of IT, that there needs to be an adjustment. Okay. So I would be supportive of that. I also understand what we've heard about aviation, and that while we cannot compete substantially with industry, we need to find a solution there. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm willing to look at that and entertain other things that we can do in the aviation area. And I would also agree with the senior campus administrators. So, but the other comment that I want to bring to light, which Mr. Straka made, is that you cannot treat all instructors at the same. You cannot broad stroke it. This is not the optimal solution. And I can just use the universities where we pay engineers more than we pay even physical chemists, and we pay physical chemists because there are fewer of them than biologists, and we pay nutritionists less than that. There's different scales for different levels and different ability to attract the right people. So I don't think broadly I can support the motion that's on the floor as presented right now. But I do believe that there are some things we could do tonight.
Mr. Straka, one of the other ones, I agree with Dr. Pingarelli, is the Director of Maintenance, which I should believe should be Director of Facilities. But to take care of the millions of dollars we have invested is an awesome job. And I also agree with Dr. Pingarelli that Mr. Straka's idea, long range, we should maybe look at categories for instructors like Dr. Pingarelli suggested. It's tougher to get the chemist or whatever it is. But right now, we keep throwing this back and coming up with excuses. I think it's time that we moved on some of these tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Hutchinson, I know you wanted, you had.
It's okay, Frank. No big deal.
I apologize,
Sure,
Mr.
I
Hudson.
don't forget somebody because I'm going to. I already have.
So although we do have salary ranges, the upper end of the range is a cap. And if we do this tonight and just toss money at people, which may be something that is important to do, these do look out of whack. Some of these do need adjustment. But if we don't adjust the range, we're not doing anything for long-term planning. We're just helping the employees that are here right now. When we rehire that position due to retirements or any other reason, that person's going to go back to the range that we set very recently. If we don't adjust the range, we're not doing any real good, is my point here. So that I can't support this because of that. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Hutchinson. I did want to add something because I had talked to Dr. Erb earlier, and this is where I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect. So there's one position on here, Assistant Campus Administrator, and there's only 3 employees on the list. And so I was asking them, and we have 4 Assistant Campus Administrators. We just hired one at $80,000, and they're not on the list for the raise, but the other 3 all make more than the amount that we brought in. So we can hire people into the range, and our current staff in that position is already making more than the person that we've hired, so there's room for them all to move up. So some of these positions don't feel like they are I feel like they're at the market rate, and so to do a market adjustment isn't showing based on what our current hiring trajectory has been. I think the 2, Mr. Miglarino, that I could support is Director of IT and Director of Maintenance. And the reason I say that is those are the 2 that are showing a market adjustment of above 10%. And that's where I believe you should make an adjustment. And so I could support something for those 2 because administration has shown more than a 10% variance. But the others, I think if we make adjustments for 3 and 4%, we're sending the wrong message to the staff that we're going to continue to make these. And I feel that's sending a mixed message to our staff.
Mr. Chair, I believe when I started, I indicated this is not designed so that everybody runs to Dr. Erb's office. I want to be adjusted. I would be the first to tell you no. But I also tend to agree with Mr. Hutchinson that we can put a range. Dr. Erb put a specific amount, that we could put a range for those that are important. I agree with the two you picked out. And again, I would like to see the title Director of Facilities rather than Director of Maintenance. But I could live with that. I hope Mr. Kaltenbach could.
Just one point of clarification, so that we're pretty clear tonight. At the earlier board meeting, these are hiring ranges. We no longer have caps. The hiring ranges you established and took the caps off. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear in the minutes that the board voted to take away the top of the caps. We just are using the current salary ranges as hiring ranges. Our employees will continue to get a raise on a yearly basis as the board recommends a percent of an increase.
And you're not making any recommendation to the hiring ranges?
No, I think we're okay. Where we're struggling a little bit, I would love to be able to change the range from 50 to 75 and make it 60 to 75 or 80. That's one of the things that would benefit West-MEC, just changing the beginning. But we have a listed there, 25 instructors that are in the 50 to 59, 21 are in the 60 to 69. And this was all based on their experience and what they were currently making previously.
Is that their base salary?
That's their base salary.
What does it come with when we add Prop 301 funds and
They have a chance to earn
the stipend and everything else?
40, it's 1,500, 750, it's 4,500 at the end for performance-based, CTSO, and work-based learning.
What I don't want to become is, I don't know if anyone saw in the news today, LA County is in a lot of hot water. They're paying some of their lifeguards $500,000 a year. I don't want to create an adjustment where people, we have to have a due diligence. I don't want to be in the news for paying a lifeguard $500,000 a year. Right? And things get out, somehow, I don't know how that would happen in LA, but Mr. K.
Yeah, I read news stories, I hear, all the crazy things that are out there. But that's not what we're talking about here at West-MEC. We're talking about our administration was asked to do a thing. They very thoughtfully went through, showed us data, have examined and asked for from all of these different municipalities and school districts comparators. And these are the places where they feel that we are not being competitive with our sister organizations. They're not talking about competing with, giant corporations that are stealing teachers for their skills, their certified skills. They're talking about competing in similar positions. And I don't remember when we became a board of micromanagers. I hate that. I detest it. I think we hired really good people. I think they thoughtfully went through what we have. I think they have a proposal. Is this a fix for forever? No. Should we go through and readdress our salary ranges with a comprehensive study? Absolutely. But if we don't make changes now, we're going to lose more people before the school year even starts. And I don't know all the stories about every person or every position or everything, but our administration, our employees, we set out to go do these things, have talked to these people. They're on the front lines of hiring new people. They're the ones going out to find new people and recruit new people, and this is where they're struggling. And so for us to micromanage this and imply or guess that we're smarter than them is myopic. These are the positions that our staff is having a hard time finding and keeping, and why would we not support this as is?
I second it.
I have some concerns.
I was going to say, when the board removed salary caps, we became micromanagers because we no longer can do a broad brush of the pen. That was the decision of the board to say we're going to review individual salaries at an individual level. I don't believe even a motion of saying 8 employees. I believe we would have to name the employees and their salary, because that's the job of the board now, that we would have to name each employee and their salary, because we can't just say increase ranges, because we don't have ranges anymore. So that's when we did that.
We didn't do that when we gave salary, when we gave whatever it was, 2% last month. We didn't
Right.
name every employee.
But now
This is a
we're
list of
calling
these
out
people at these positions.
Like, we're only
Is there a
listing
motion
3
on
of
the
the
floor?
4 administrators, so we're gonna have to list who are the 3 administrators and the 4th one that doesn't get a raise. So we have
That's
become
just,
micromanagers.
Mr. Straka, that's one example. I just don't think we can keep pushing this down the road. We need to do something, and to come up with whatever we come up with to push it off just doesn't make sense. People need to be paid fairly for the position that they're in. Can it be perfect? Heck no. But it's time that we that we showed some. The campus administrators, I remember the last time we talked, well, they don't do what the principal at Peoria High does. They're not supposed to, but they should be somewhere in the same ballpark. And that's all we're talking about. We're not talking, I don't think you're correct that we have to name each person. I don't know of any law or requirement that would be made something mandatory.
Chairman Strickland, just one other piece of information. I've been here for 10 years, 11 years doing this, and this is the first year I've had 12 employees that have come and asked to renegotiate contract. Out of the 12 that have come to me, 11 are instructors. So wherever we fall in this continuum, we're talking about instructors and losing instructors where
It is what it is.
it's, and I told each of those employees, I have no authority to change your current salary and the raise that you gave previously until it comes before the board. So however you factor in whatever positions you want to do tonight or not do tonight, I just wanted to let you know that's one thing that happened this year, and I can't tell you why.
11 of those instructors, are they capped already then? Is that what you're saying?
No. And 2 welding teachers came, they're not capped. There's no cap anymore. They're not at the top of the range. They were hired in a range. Law and public safety. I mean, I have the list of all of those teachers that have come and said, will you reconsider increasing my salary?
If they're not capped, then why can't they renegotiate their
Because
salary?
I don't have the authority, it has to be approved by the governing board.
The board has to approve all raises.
Mr. Chairman, can I call for the question? I think we could talk about this, push it off like we usually do, but I think it's time to take a vote.
So are you asking for the whole thing and present it, or are we going, reducing it down?
Mr. Chair, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity of what the motion is.
I wanted to make a comment.
Well, Mr. Miglerino has called for the question. The motion on the floor is it the page as presented?
That was the motion, yeah.
Okay,
Yep. I gave a chance for, input if we thought we should do something different. But, we just keep trying to put it down the road.
okay, you called for the
You know,
question, and I think I had made a suggestion, but,
Make a substitute motion.
are you wanting to make a substitute motion, did you say?
Well, I'm going to make a substitute motion.
Can we do that when the
No,
question's been
you
called?
gotta, you either vote on it or vote, you can make a motion for an amendment, but then that would have to get voted
You can
on.
make a substitute motion.
Is a substitute motion an amendment?
No,
You can make a substitute
Okay.
motion.
no, that's not in parliamentary procedure.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So you would have to make an amendment.
You can make
Markham?
substitute motions if the people who made the motion are willing to acquiesce and then
So
start a
you
new
could
one.
make an amendment, if you'd like to make an amendment?
Well, I would amend that we approve 2 of the recommendations, and only those 2, to the Director of Maintenance and to the Director of IT at this point. That would be my amendment.
That would be a substitute motion. Are you open to that? he's not open to that, so, it depends on how the first vote goes, we can come back.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
You're gonna need a roll call.
Aye.
We're gonna do a roll call, Mr. Miglerino.
Yeah, I can't hear some of you, so I'm at a bit of disadvantage. Some of you come in just fine, others, I hardly hear a word.
Okay, going around. Peter,
Nay.
I'm gonna vote nay because I think it needs to be reduced down.
Mr. K,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
No, because I think I need more information to make sure that we have adequate ranges here. I'm concerned that we are not offering sufficient on some of these, so I say no.
Migliorino,
I'm not, are we on the original or
Yes.
Dr. Pingarelli's?
We're on the original, sir.
Yay.
Mr. Hutchinson,
No.
motion does not pass.
Dr. Pingarelli, would you like to make your substitute motion now?
Well, now it will be a new motion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I make a motion that, given the list presented, that we approve the recommendations of administration for Director of Maintenance and for Director of IT.
I think the other one Mr. Miglerino was passionate about was campus administrator, and I believe that would have a chance to pass. Would you entertain adding campus administrator?
Yes, yes, I would, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I would like to see that Director of Facilities. Maintenance just implies plumbers, carpenters. But we ask him to do everything from, student safety to our safety. So I just would like to use the word facilities, but yes, I would entertain that. Thank you.
So
let me restate the motion. I make a motion that we approve the recommendation given by administration for Director of Maintenance / Facilities, Director of IT, and for campus administrators.
is there a second?
Wait a minute. Campus administrators, does that include assistant administrators?
No.
Okay.
I'll second it if nobody else has, but I can't hear
Yeah,
most
no
of
one
you.
else has Mr. Miglerino. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hutchinson?
I will support this one, but I still think that the bottom end of the hiring ranges, if we do any of these positions, need to also be adjusted, because this may help for employee retention, but how does it help hiring if we're not adjusting the bottom end of the hiring range? Now, we have one of our senior staff here that tells us the hiring ranges are just fine. Well, then what's the issue with hiring? Thank you.
I would say hiring at where I'm employed, hiring everywhere is tough. And, I can tell you, I was approached by 15 people on LinkedIn this month alone, asking me to consider talking to them about a job. Hearing no more discussion, I'll call for the question. Ms. Markham, would you mind going around the circle again?
Peter Pingarelli,
Aye.
Frank Strickland,
Aye.
Mr. Kaltenbach,
Aye.
No. Aye.
Mr. Hutchinson,
Aye.
Jim Migliorino. Jim? Hears you.
Is she calling my name?
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes, sir.
might I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Mr. Ramirez, what is it you don't know? If Dr. Erb could answer it, would you be willing to go with the rest of it?
Not at the moment. I need to look at it closer, maybe one-on-one with him, but I just want to make sure that this is an important matter.
You're right.
Salaries. And I'm concerned that we're doing it, I don't want to vote for something and fall short of what is expected or should be for that specific job.
But if we don't make the change, we're almost guaranteed to lose all the rest of these employees. So like making a first stab at it, you don't want to do because it might not be far enough?
So in a point of order, I think the motion has closed.
We can make multiple motions on the same discussion item.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Hutchison.
I do believe this just goes to show how crucial it is that we have a professional salary and compensation study done before we go through this next year. Thank you.
Agreed.
I would like to see, I'd like to see,
We need aviation people. Right.
Ms., could we on this make a motion to create an aviation instructor range?
Well, but there's other industries, we just haven't heard about them, or they're
Well,
not
I
on the
know,
list.
so it goes back to your question. Do we want to lose some, or do we want to at least try to stop some of the bleeding? I know it's a finger in the dike and there's more holes, but.
Yeah, this whole list was finger in the dike.
It's also.
The whole list is finger in the dike. If we don't address all of these things, we're gonna lose people in all of these positions.
That's not what Dr. Erb said. Dr. Erb said 11 of the 12 were instructors.
Of the people that came to him, asking to negotiate, but we're gonna lose people in these other
Do
positions.
we know for sure that we're gonna lose those folks?
Yes,
If
you
we
know.
don't,
Look at the track record.
So we have 160 employees at an annual contract renewal based on where the job market is in the United States today. If we lose less than 40 people, we are doing well. That's just a realistic fact of people are jumping. They call it the Great Resignation. We are not going to be able to prevent people from leaving. And it's not money, it's a lot of other things that we can't address. Work from home, quality of life. Money doesn't address those. And that's a lot of what we're hearing as well. And so what I'm worried about is we're trying to solve a lot of problems with just money, and I'm not at 100% sure we're going to get there.
There is no 100%, Mr. Straka.
Absolutely.
Money is an issue, and I think we have a decision. I concur with you and Mr. Hutchinson that when we have to go around for future agenda items, I don't need my name on it, that we do have a comprehensive study of all the positions.
All right.
Meanwhile, we need aviation.
Yeah, I'd like to help out our aviation. Is there anybody else?
What's
I
your
agree with Barbara.
suggestion, Ms. Wiley?
Address it.
Yeah, how?
Mr. Chair?
Dr. Pingarelli.
Yes, so I agree with Ms. Wiley on aviation, and I think that that is an important area, but it's probably going to take a multiple approaches, because those individuals left for industry, and an industry that is, wanting, so we need to find an innovative way to handle that one, and I think with a commentary from Dr. Erb, the same would be true for welding. So I think those are two key areas that are very important programs for West-MEC, very important for our students, and so that would be under a separate agenda item.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Pingarelli is absolutely correct.
All right, are we ready to move on then?
I wish my wife would say that once in a while.
Thank you, Dr. Erb. I know it was a lot of work. I appreciate you and all the staff pulling this all together. Ms. Thompson, I think this is your second time tonight?
Thank you, Chairman Straka, governing board members, and Superintendent Donovan. I'm here to give you a presentation on the budget this evening and then vote on a hopeful meeting in June. Of course, we are waiting on the legislature unless somebody knows something I don't about the budget. Has it been approved? Do we have one? We don't. That being said, the Auditor General will probably put some preliminary budget forms out Friday. So we will need to have a special meeting before the 22nd of June and to approve the proposed budget. We will adopt it in July, and then we will come back with the official forms probably in August or September, whenever that happens, or whenever they finalize the forms. But tonight, first I would like to present, if you'll, it's page 2 of your board book. Our projected revenue is 50.9 million. We have 45.8 million in reserve, and we're still sitting on bond money of 54.1 million. Expenses for the following year, salaries is at 12.6 million. Benefits, I have at 5.4 million. And you can see all of the categories, medical being the most, vision, teledoc, life, AD&D, ASRS is 1.2 million, stipends, and then FICA Medicare, the employer portion. Consultants and technical services, there's a legend below, includes communications, printing, advertising, legal counsel, audit services. It would include also election services, janitorial, landscaping, conferences, travel. Travel also includes CTSO travel. Partner program tuitions and fees. That's about 5 million. Repairs and maintenance, that's growing as well as our buildings are starting to get older. We are requiring more maintenance. Below it will tell you roofs, HVAC, painting, resealing of parking lots. Supplies and materials, that includes supplies that are used in the classroom, mostly, and materials. 1.3 million. Electricity, about 600,000 is what we're projecting for next year for all of our buildings. Member district funding is 16.7 million, and that would include the capital industry reimbursement that we do. And then other membership dues and fees is 1.6 million, and that is also a lot of CTSO affiliations and fees and dues. Furniture equipment is about 1.1. Again, our aviation program is our oldest program, and some of our airplanes need to be put out to pasture and new plane. You can only take, Mr. Gabaldon tells me you can only take apart and put together a plane so many times before you can't anymore. So we have to invest in some airplanes. Instructional aids and textbooks, and that would include welding as well. Welding goes through a lot of instructional aid materials. Technology, staying abreast of what's going on in the world, and construction. That would bring our total expenditures at about 59.8 million. And yes, that's considerable over last year, but we're getting closer. I will stand for questions or give any further detail that you have. Any breakdowns? The added costs or rising costs. We have election costs we have to be thinking about.
My first question is, how much did you have, where did you have to adjust any of this because of inflation, like technical services or repairs and maintenance? Do we have anything that we can call out of how much was inflation related?
I went up 12% on most of it. We call and ask, and a lot of them will tell you what they're doing, and a lot of them have already started invoicing the higher amount.
On the member district funding, and this might be more for Mr. Donovan, I know one of the things we I don't want to say struggle with, but some districts put it all into salaries. If we're going to increase it by 1.2 million, can we make that money separate where it goes directly into, because I think some of that you've already done. If we're going to increase it, can we make sure it goes into student programs and not into salaries?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Can you tell us how you are accomplishing that? Because I know you've done some of that already. I just want to make sure that you're just
In
confirm.
discussion with the staff, to answer it a little more broad, the statement is yes, and the vast bulk of that money goes into what we called our controlled buckets. We have given a slight increase this year to our general pool of money, which some of that goes into salaries because the cost of everything is going up. So we recognize that cost. We recognize the increased costs of employees as well as raises and those kinds of things. So I felt it was fair this year to suggest we increase that bucket a little bit.
So what's the breakdown of the 1.2 million? How much do they get to put in the general bucket?
Is Stephen still here?
Most of it, I would say we put into the industry updates, so that's equipment.
Right.
And
So if you were to ballpark it, is it like 100, 200,000?
And I want to say about 800,000 is what we put into industry.
So about 400,000 for salaries, ballparking.
Into the formula.
Into the formula, which can be used for anything, and then 800,000 for specific. Well, it's more.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you for that concern. I want to say that very clearly to everyone. Thank you for that concern. We're all concerned about it. But not every district, I need to give credit, utilizes all that money into salaries. Some do, and we recognize the need for some of that. A long time ago, the Auditor General ruled that programs started after the implementation of West-MEC, that some of this money could be used for salaries. And as we want districts to grow CTE, it's sort of a self-perpetuating reward. The more they do, the more we get. The more we get, the more we can give them. The more we give them, the more they can grow. And we want that to happen. So you have to recognize some of that, but we do have that ongoing discussion. This money is not just for supplementing or supplanting salaries. And as you just heard,
I
the
just wanted.
1.6, about 1.2 goes into controlled buckets, and the 10 high school districts are splitting that other 400,000. It's not a big move.
And then I was just curious, Teladoc and Vision Dental are both 14,822?
Correct.
It just, the odds of them being the same number just seemed really funny to me.
I find that odd myself.
Other questions?
Some more broad questions, Chair?
Sure,
So
sir.
you're familiar with the annual report of the Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction. Do our type of district, do we report in there? I see charters and districts, but I could not identify West-MEC.
Thank you, Chairman Strachan and Dr. Pingarelli. No, we are not in that. They do not know how to handle us. But we do report out a cost report every year that goes to the Joint Legislative Budget Committee. And they get that from us. We gather it from our member districts, we compile it, we aggregate it, and they know exactly what it's costing us and our member districts to run CTE programs.
I was going to tell you, Dr. Pingarelli, in the email we got from the Auditor General, if you go to the link, it goes to the ADE's big website-y thing. And if you drive all the way over to West-MEC, you can find data on graduations, TSAs, the technical skills assessment and all that kind of stuff. We don't get a letter grade, right, because of the new
I
legislation.
understand that, yeah.
But a lot of that data is in there. You can drill down to actual West-MEC data and then our partner districts. I don't know how good a job they did of like pulling apart. I don't, is, it has West-MEC graduation, but like, is that, so I didn't understand that, because like, is that graduation, the students that come to us, or are we being held to the, to their home school? So that part's gone a little bit, but there's a bunch of data in that link.
And I think, thank you, Mr. Kalmbach, the school level reporting that we're now required to do that you all saw last October, which you'll see again this October, that has to drill down as well. So now they can see exactly which program at which campus is costing and generating. So we can actually drill down, and I can send you a copy of that. It's in the AFR. So if you go to the ADE website, it's part of our AFR, and you can actually drill down and say how much was auto collision at Northeast Campus. It will tell you the student count, it will tell you the revenue, and the calculated revenue and the expenses for that, because now we have to drill that down.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate that.
Dr. Pingarelli, thank you for that question. And as a person that may have some connection at 1700 West Washington, the last time the CTEDs inquired, the JLBC has never done anything with these reports. No one has ever requested a copy of the report. The report has never been sent anywhere to anybody. Perhaps you could be the first and ask for a copy of the annual CTED report that we must all spend countless hours as required by law submitting.
Maybe you could influence getting this unutilized report removed from the books.
Okay. Well,
And you could enjoy reading that report, because there's lots of information.
occasionally, I have some say, but not too often. But, the question, I wanted to go to the financial component of the superintendent's, Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction, because with districts or charters, the public will get the number of state, local, and federal dollars, but there are other dollars that are included. So for example, in the 2021 Peoria report, you'll typically hear that the district has a $240 million annual budget. But when you look at that report, and that's self-reporting, the actual dollar amount for 2021 was $378. I'm trying to disaggregate where all those components come from. Now that's the 21 report prior to ESSER funds. So what I'm trying to do is understand that a little bit better for my own understanding. But the other information I do appreciate also, and I will see if I can get more.
Thank you, Chairman Straka and Dr. Pingarelli. When I do our special meeting, I will definitely highlight that, and I would welcome anybody to come and sit down and go through those budget pages, and I can show you exactly where our money comes from and how we dispense it, because we have to categorically identify,
Yes.
and every pot is different. And I remember when Barbara Wiley first came on, she wanted to know if we couldn't just have a checkbook, and this is why, because all of our money comes from somewhere else, and every bucket has to have its own accountability. So I can show you that and definitely present that at our special meeting.
And the reason I asked that, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Thompson. The reason I asked that is because all board members now are under much more scrutiny by the public, and they are much more engaged in asking questions of where money is coming from and which buckets, and we get words like confiscation thrown at us, and overtaxation, and a host of other things. And so it's very important for us to really study those numbers and know how to justify them. Now, in the and I'll finish my comment, in the world of CTE, we're kind of golden, because that is in many spheres, that's the golden egg, at least today, so.
Thank you, and I would welcome the opportunity to share that information with all of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Did we have a motion?
We need a motion to select a date so that I can put this on forms so that you can approve a proposal.
So we all need to look at our calendars, is what you're saying.
What date would you like us to select?
It has to be before June 22nd or before.
June 22nd or before.
I need 4 board members.
Can it be
It can be virtual.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Chair, if it's virtual, I have no conflicts with just about any date or time.
On June 22nd or before?
Correct.
I'm just looking at, I know Mr. Kaltenbach and I are both out of town the week of June 12th.
The early evening, when our board member meetings mostly are on the 20th and 21st would work for me.
Yeah, the 20th is my 30th wedding anniversary.
doesn't
That
work for
probably would not be a good day for me. But the 21st, I'd be completely free because I met with you on the 20th.
What time would it be?
I could do the 21st or 22nd, do either of those days. Could we do the 22nd, or it has to be the 21st?
Has to be before.
It has to be on or before the 22nd of June.
Okay.
On the 21st.
Can we do it the 21st? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, that's 4:30, like.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. As long as it's virtual, on a Tuesday I can do it, but it has to be prior to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So can we do 4:30? Does that
4:30?
work on the 21st? Ms. Thompson, does that work for you? And that gives you a day to make sure the board doesn't screw anything up.
And for Mrs. Markham to chase us down for signatures we didn't put down somewhere.
Oh, can we do DocuSign on those forms because it's virtual? And we can give you all the documents that night.
We're working on that. The trial period is up.
No.
And it's a Canadian company.
Canadian.
So in the procurement office,
I have
We're working on it.
DocuSign authority too, so I can send it out if I have to.
we'll get it done.
It was really, I really like having it that way, but anyway, 21st at 4:30 is, we don't need a motion for that, do we?
We have to approve that.
I move we have our special budget adoption meeting on Tuesday, June 21st at 4:30 virtually, or in person if you really, really want to.
I'll second.
I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ms. Thompson, we look forward to our special budget meeting.
Thank you.
All right, calendar of events. Recognition ceremonies have already been mentioned. I think there's 3 on Friday and then 1 mid-June, the aviation program or something. Am I missing any, Ms. Markham? I think that's all that's left. This Friday and mid-June.
It's not here.
Future agenda items?
Salaries for aviation, adult. Some more student and district presentations, and what's happening with the redistricting.
Oh, we're waiting to hear back.
Barbara's on it. It's your red.
On the redistricting, Mr. Ramirez and I did follow up with Ms. Thompson on a couple of things, and I don't know if you heard back from the redistricting company. You probably can just send us an email because we're out of order.
We just received an email. I haven't
Okay,
even had a
cool.
chance to
Then
open it.
we'll get an update to the board once we get it from Ms. Thompson. But we'll, if appropriate, we'll have something on next
Well,
month's
next
agenda.
month, yeah.
Any other agenda items? Anyone?
Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Thank you.
Don't be a stranger.
I don't think I'm gonna be.
All right, I think we're adjourned at 6:22. Thank you, everyone.